Hi, all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Elaine, and today I'm joined by...
Hello, Jeremy.
That was a weird way to introduce yourself,
Yeah,
but that's okay. We are back for round 2 of our This Week in Weeb podcast. Now, I said things weird.
Yes.
And we are just checking in roughly mid-season to our winter 2026 anime watching spree. In our last episode, we discussed everything we were watching. We dropped a lot of those shows, probably the most shows we've ever dropped in any season ever. And we have since picked up some things, continued some things, and that's about it, really.
So we kind of just want to go through the ones that we are watching right now. Not all of them are this season necessarily, but we have talked about those ones in the beginning, the first episode, and we'll let you know which ones we're sticking with.
So why don't we start with the ones that we have decided to pick up since the last time we had this podcast. So the things that are new to the people, new to us, replaced all the ones that we were like, nah, this ain't worth your time.
I think that is a good place to start.
Let's start with Reborn as a Dragon Hatchling.
Reincarnated as a dragon hatchling.
Close enough. Now I messed it up.
Yeah, that is a show that we hadn't started watching when it first started airing. I think we had 2 episodes out or 2 or 3 episodes out when we first started watching it. So it was like 2 to 3 weeks in to the season.
And now we are caught up. And I would describe this show as basically that time I was reincarnated as a slime dragon hatchling edition.
No, not really at all.
Sure, right. Anyway, so basically the show is essentially how it sounds. We start off with a guy. He was isekai'd. I don't remember how this time, but he was isekai'd.
I don't know if they go over why he was isekai'd. I honestly don't remember why he was isekai'd. It obviously was not a main point of contention or whatever.
So he winds up in another world where he is a little dragon egg, and as he levels up by defeating monsters, he gets to evolve into various stages of dragon, most of which are spoiled in the theme song.
Yes. We are through the things that are spoiled in the theme song at this point. We haven't seen beyond that yet, but he starts out as an egg, like Elaine said, and because he starts out as an egg and he moves around as an egg, he gets an achievement immediately, which is called the Wandering Egg. And that gives him double experience whenever he gains experience. So he's just cakewalking through gaining experience in this thing. This is the easiest leveling system I've ever seen. He just levels constantly.
He gets experience for walking.
Yeah. He's just like walking. Oh, you hit something with your hand. That levels your hand hitting skill. Or like you breathed on something really hard. That levels your breathing skill. So everything has a skill associated with it, and he is just progressing from egg to dragon hatchling, then to the form that he's currently in right now, which is spoiled in the theme song, but I'm not going to dive into what it is necessarily unless people would like us to. But what are your thoughts on this?
So I think this anime, in terms of actual animation, leaves a lot to be desired.
Oh, yeah.
It is very wonky. It is not attractive. The models are really not cute. Like, you could have gone so cute with a little dragon hatchling, but instead it looked like it wanted to be a Digimon. Not that I hate Digimon or anything, but like when you think dragon hatchling, that is not what you anticipate looking at for several episodes.
It looked a lot like a dragon version of that little, I don't remember what it was.
Patamon, maybe?
Not Patamon. From the other one that had the 3, that had Renamon and the Tyrannosaurus, and then the little like mammal that would turn into the guy with the Gatling gun hands and had like the long ears. He basically looked like a dragon version of that thing with the long ears. But the reason why I say this is not like Slime is nobody likes him.
That's true.
And in Slime, it's just
everybody want to be with Slime.
Everybody wants to be with Slime, and he just recruits people left and right. And he's pretty much by him. I mean, he's got allies at this point, kind of, sort of, but for the most part, he was alone. And
that's fair.
And he can't even really interact with anybody because he can't speak English or Japanese or human, whatever the language of this world is. He can't speak it. So even though to us, he's speaking Japanese, to the rest of the world, he's just growling and whatnot. And he can't understand them either. They are like weirdly distorted when they talk back to him, so he can't understand them either. And he has like a lizard that he's talking to at some point, and he can't communicate with the lizard either. So everything kind of has its own language. It seems like he's not able to communicate with anybody.
He's got problems.
And he is, leveling up. He gets to pick from the evolution trees and whatnot. And once he gets to his third form, so you had like egg, then you have hatchling, and then you have what he evolves into after that. Everything just becomes a CGI model. He is entirely a CGI model, near 100% of the time, and it's just ugly. It is just an ugly thing. They don't hand draw him ever. He's just always CGI. Maybe every once in a while you get like a static shot or like a really minor shot where he's not moving or anything and it looks like it's hand drawn, but for the most part, he's just CGI at this point. Most of the enemies are CGI, and it's that blocky anime CGI that looks terrible, where it's just like, this is the Unreal Engine Anime Edition Wolf, and this is the Unreal Engine Anime Edition Rock Dragon, and everything looks bad. And he's just going around fighting stuff, and there's a whole separate story going on with the humans, particularly a human that he met early on and tried to save and all this stuff. But I don't know. I don't feel like a lot's happening in this show.
It has despite the fast leveling, which is almost too easy, like every challenge is just something he solves within like 10 minutes, which is kind of irksome. You want more of a challenge for your character.
He just gets beat up by something and it's like, oh, you're getting beat up skill is leveled, so now you take less damage. It's like, oh, well, I needed that. Thanks.
So convenient for the plot. But despite that leveling, there isn't much really going on in the plot as a whole. Like, he encounters these humans. He has a brief bad experience with the humans. Then he meets this other guy, and then he meets these other dudes, and then he's just leveling. That's basically the show.
Yeah.
I
was a little intrigued up until he makes his like first evolution tree choice. And after that, in my opinion, he makes the wrong choice. And I kind of lost a lot of the interest I had in the show after that. We're still watching it. Probably going to continue watching it at this point. But it's not something we're super excited for every week. And if you haven't started it, I probably wouldn't recommend it, honestly.
It looks really bad. A lot of the anime this season looks really bad.
Yeah, we'll get into talking about the animation this season. It's so bad.
But this one in particular is one of, I say, the top 3 that just looks freaking atrocious. Like, there is no redeeming quality other than like bright, colorful choices, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be positive. Bright, colorful choices.
So that is Reincarnated as a dragon hatchling. Would you say watch or not watch?
It's not really worth it. Like, it's okay. It's nothing special. Like, if you're going to watch a Reincarnated one or an isekai in general, this is probably not the direction I would go in.
There's a lot of other ones out there that are at the very least hand-drawn that you can watch that aren't just a CGI mess. But, so yeah, I'm also saying if you haven't started it, don't pick it up. You're going to thank me later. Thank us both later.
It's also on High Dive, so
it's annoying to watch. That is one of the channel catchphrases. And the subtitles are ugly. The High Dive subtitles, the searing yellow, like fan sub looking things from like 2001 when I used to download Inuyasha illegally. It's
hey, don't mention that.
Statute of Limitations is up. I'm sure it's fine. But it was like that bright yellow, like Courier New font
caution
at the bottom.
tape.
Yeah, and that's what all the High Dive subtitles look like. It's just so ugly. But yeah, so that's one anime, and we will move on to talk about the next one. The next new anime that we are watching that we did not talk about in episode 1 of the podcast to start the season was Hell Mode. The hardcore gamer dominates in another world with garbage game balancing. Did I get it?
Probably got it. Close enough. It was fine.
With garbage balancing.
You're good.
But so this one, I was expecting something different. This is also, if we're going to talk about ugly animation, this is up there. This is probably the worst.
It's probably the worst.
Probably
one.
the worst. The animation to this one is all of that ugly CGI default Unreal Engine anime edition. I don't know if it's Unreal Engine, but I think it would look better if it was Unreal Engine. But it's like that default CGI anime thing where it's the boar is just a bouncing pixelated CGI model. And there's a thing from the theme song that we haven't even seen yet, which is this giant like Yeti giant thing that's just like flopping like this. And he's just like flopping in space.
Like an inflatable arm man.
Yeah, he looks like a Bethesda glitch. Like he's just like that. And they put that in the theme song. There's also really ugly birds, like giant birds.
Alba herons,
yeah, that are just terrible looking. And the wolves, the bugs, the birds, everything just looks horrendous. And most of the time when the people are fighting, they're drawn correctly. But every once in a while there's this horrendous little scene where they switch over to everybody's CGI and everything in the theme song is terrible. I don't know. This is just really, really don't like this from a visual perspective. But from a content perspective, what do you think?
I think it's okay. It is very, very, very slow, which I feel like you kind of know ahead of time with a title like Hell Mode and like the first 5 minutes of the anime where he's deciding he's going to be on Hell Mode in this new world and his leveling is going to be like minus
1/100th of everybody else's.
So you know that going in, but it is strange when you're accustomed to shows where they make every progression really, really fast and the character becomes OP in 30 seconds, which I feel like highlights and accentuates just how slow this is because you're so accustomed to that. So in one sense, it's refreshing, but at the same time, it's almost painful.
I think this is one of those shows that's good or that's better if you watch it after the whole season's out. Because each individual episode is not a lot. Not a lot happens in each individual episode, but like collectively you're seeing progression. There's time skips and such that you get to kind of keep track of what things are doing, like how things are growing, how people are leveling. They call them trials of the gods when they level, because they don't know what the leveling system is. He's the only one who has access to a book, or at least so far. He's the only one who has access to a like instruction manual, essentially.
Grimoire as well.
Yeah, and that allows him to understand what's going on and what his stats are, but he can't see other people's stats outside of very specific circumstances. He can't see other people's stats, but he kind of like ponders through and reasons out what people's strength level are based on his in different attributes and whatnot. And I was honestly expecting this main character to be a degenerate. When it was like a hardcore gamer, he likes games with garbage balancing. He wants something that's really hard. So I thought he was going to go in and he was going to be like that stereotypical degenerate gamer. And he's not really, actually. He's kind of a really nice guy. And he gets reborn as a summoner class. It's a class that's like all glitchy, and it's a brand new beta class that the developers don't have any information on. And he is in hell mode, so he's going to level 1/100th the speed of everybody else. And he comes back as a baby, like being born. He starts right from the beginning. We get some skips to get him to like 3 years old, then like 7 years old, thereabouts. And he just like lives with his family. And his family's alive, and they're nice. They're wholesome.
Serfs.
Yeah, they're serfs. They have basically nothing. They have like a borderline clay hut house and sit around a fire. The wife's just popping out kids, but at this point he has two siblings, a boy and a girl at this point, and they just like all like each other, and he likes his parents and he wants the best for them. But in the background, he's always trying to figure out how to level. And so he does little creative things on how to level and whatnot. And I honestly wasn't expecting it to be as wholesome of an anime as it is.
It does have some pretty like icky moments. We've actually seen a lot of anime this season where they'll hunt down an animal and they show the process of like bleeding the animal, which is not something I've really seen. And then suddenly it was a thing I was seeing everywhere, and I was like, all right.
I mean, considering every animal is a CGI model, though, it doesn't look particularly realistic.
And I think like their tactics are sometimes strange, and I really wish they had done better with the art. I feel like if you're going to do art this badly, you kind of have to like lean into it and be in on the joke like you did with Kamikaze. But they seem to be trying, and it almost hurts a little.
Yeah, it seems like there was a lot of anime this year that had some decent concepts to them, and the animation just is a real distracting factor to them.
Budget cuts.
Yeah, they probably just couldn't raise the money, I guess. But I don't foresee this taking any crazy turns. I'm assuming eventually he's going to try and fight the weird janky giant from the theme song.
Or maybe it'll be a summon.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, he can summon things from his book, and they are different ranks. And they get stronger and bigger as the ranks go up. So he has like insects, birds, beasts, and
they all have
plants,
different
grass or something. And they all have different attributes and abilities. And if he has a whole bunch of them in his book, then he gets the buffs for having them. But if he sends them out and they get killed, then he loses the buffs. So he can kind of try and do like all of the party roles himself. His defense ones, his offense ones, his healing ones, things like that. And it's kind of an interesting system. We don't really get a lot out of the specifics of the system, though.
I think as he starts to understand the system better, we too will come to understand it better. But he's still in a learning stage. He's only like rank E, F, some letter that they don't usually refer to when they're doing a ranking system. And he's just getting like tiny little baby buffs, and he's like calculating, oh, it's going to take me 10 years to get to the next level. Yay.
Yeah.
And, we see him trying to move up the social ladder because he wants a better life for himself and for his family, and just trying to like circumvent rules and adjust the world so he can get to his goal of being super strong a lot faster than he initially anticipates.
Yeah. So would you recommend this one?
I'm kind of leaning toward no, because it's just so blah looking, and just it's very slow. I think it's going to be off-putting for most people. If you can get past that, I think it could be enjoyable, but if you can't, it's really going to be a slog.
If you can, like Elaine's saying, ignore the terrible art style and animation, then I think there's something there. Also, if you haven't started it yet, you can get a build up. I think it's like 6 episodes now.
6 or 7
episodes now, so you don't have to worry so much about it being slow, because you can just kind of watch them all the ones that are out,
and pretend it's going fast.
Yeah, pretend it's going fast. Just go from one after the other. Some of the characters are nice. I think they interact with each other well. It's fairly wholesome, and it is what it is. I would recommend that if you can ignore the visual shortcomings, I think you may enjoy this, but not a huge ringing endorsement on it. Next up is Tune Into Midnight Heart. Pretty sure I got the title right without looking at it. But this is a fun anime that has an interesting and sometimes hilarious protagonist when he's unintentionally being hilarious, which I think is the funny part of him. The way that they have him set up, he's a very super serious, very pompous, very like sure of himself character, and portrays himself as such. And because of that, he is funny, because nobody else treats the world like that in this situation. In this anime, it has our protagonist, and he is going to a school to try and figure out who the mysterious streamer named Apollo was after she disappeared. He used to listen to her show when he was a child, and then she just fell off the face of the earth. And I don't remember how he found out that this was the school she was going to.
I think he used some GPS tracking nonsense.
Yeah, he did something that he figured out this was the school she would be going to for high school. So he transferred to this school, and he got all the money in the world. He is a very proud member of the Yamabuki corporate conglomerate family. So he's just got money and skills and arrogance up the wazoo. And he ends up getting involved with the broadcasting club, and he has established within his mind, and now he has tangible things that makes him believe that one of the members of the broadcasting club, these 4 girls, one of them is Apollo.
But he doesn't know which one and has to figure that out.
Yes. What do you think of this show?
This is probably my new favorite anime of the season.
Boo. We haven't talked about my favorite yet.
I don't know if that's because you're talking about like returning anime or not, but like new, not season 2, not returning anime.
Okay, returning anime. If that doesn't count, then you're fine.
Yeah, this is my favorite new, not returning anime of the season. I really like it. It has a very simple, straightforward premise, but they make it intriguing. And again, I think like the best part is just the main character is absolutely ridiculous.
He's just ridiculous. Like laugh out loud funny sometimes because he'll just say a thing in all earnest efforts, and it's just like, okay, guy.
That's not how people act normally.
Yeah.
Especially, I feel like in a more reserved culture, like Japanese culture, it would be particularly strange. If by our standards it is strange, it must be significantly worse over there.
Yes.
I think that although it does have a very fun, like upbeat story and kind of a sort of wholesome story of him trying to help all these girls reach their goals to become a good VTuber or a good actor for voiceovers or whatever, it is not aesthetically always the most pleasing.
Another one that this is probably the best example of a really good premise that's getting wrecked by the animation quality sometimes. This is essentially like the quintessential quintuplets of this season, where it's, this 4 girls and you don't know.
Because, 4 is the same as 5.
But, I mean, yeah, it's pretty close. But it could be that. And quintessential quintuplets always looked really good. This could be like that quality, but it looks bad most of the time. I don't understand why. They can't draw faces in this anime.
They also do weird things with texture. We were watching an episode the other day, and they were all in, like, winter outfits for the most part for a while. And, like, none of it had texture. It was like a sweater, and it was just, colors. Like, flat. And I was like, what are we doing?
Depth is an issue. Sometimes like their face goes straight up from their neck, and it looks like there's no depth between the neck and the front of their face. So it just looks like kind of a face placed on a 2D model, which I guess it is, but whatever.
Let's not get too technical.
So he has vowed that early on, he had vowed that him and Apollo were going to go reach their goals together, go pro, I guess. And he was going to help her. But ever since she disappeared, and now he knows that she's one of these girls, he has vowed that every member of the broadcasting club, he is going to help them go pro. And he doesn't even care which one of them's Apollo in the short term right now, because he wants all of them to go pro. He's very earnest in trying to help them. He really brings out the best in them. He seems to always know how to, without really portraying like he cares, he always seems to know exactly how to get them to where they need to be, like the little bit of insecurity that they have. The beginning of the show was kind of first introducing everybody, and then they each had like an episode and a half each to go through their particular problem and their particular thing. One of them wanted to be a VTuber. One of them wanted to be a voice actress for like anime and manga adaptations. One of them wants to be a singer, and one of them wants to be like a reporter or news anchor. And they each have these goals, but they had issues that were holding them back. And he kind of helped address each of those issues and kind of helping them address them on their own, even though he was providing like the support and the framework for them to kind of build themselves up on it. And I like that. I like that premise.
I think it's a good premise. I think it's a really good show. Again, would be stronger if they ironed out all the animation-related kinks.
A big plus of this show is the voice acting, because it is a show centered around voice acting, essentially. So I think the voice acting is really strong, and the sound design is really strong. I feel like there's a lot of like generic-sounding voice acting anime where it doesn't really stand out, but I feel like the way that they have, especially the 4 girls talk in this, they're very distinct, and the audio comes across as very crisp. Especially when they want it to be, it sounds really good. And I think that is something where this kind of a show could fail, where you make it all about a particular thing and then you're not very good at that thing. That was like that recitation, Flowers of Ashura, I think it was, that we watched, and it was all about like speaking, but it just sounded generic and they weren't talking about anything, so it was terrible. This one I think is, putting their best foot forward when it comes to the voice acting, which is what you'd expect from an anime about this subject. Would you recommend people watch this?
Oh yeah, this is my favorite one of the season. That is new.
This is also on Crunchyroll, so it's easier to watch.
Yeah.
I also recommend it. I would agree with you that it's my top anime that is not a new anime returning for a second season or continuing or something like that. So I definitely recommend this one. The next anime that we are watching now but weren't watching when episode 1 came out is Jack of All Trades, Party of None. This is the saying that you will hear so often that eventually it doesn't mean anything. Because there was a good 2 to 3 episode stretch where they were just saying Jack of all trades 20 times per scene. It was like, I've never heard that phrase used that many times consecutively. This is yet again a show that is let down by its animation. We'll get there. But the general basis of this show is there is a guy who's kicked out of the Heroes Party. It's always the Heroes. A lot of Heroes Party stuff that we're watching right now.
A lot of Heroes Party.
He was kicked out of the Heroes Party because he was a swordsman, but ended up having to pivot so he would be able to support the party as an enchanter. But his party didn't view him as being as good of an enchanter as they could get. So they kicked him out and they went and got themselves another enchanter.
And then he gets roped into a training program with another large guild, essentially. And that's essentially where we wind up.
And we're still in that training exercise.
Like the end of it, by the time we have stopped watching.
Which is midway through the season.
We started this one because it is one of the few with dubs, and we felt we could actually pay attention to what is happening on the screen, which is why we don't always watch subs, especially for action anime. Yeah, I know, unpopular opinion. I think that this one has an okay premise, but it's a very generic, we've seen it before premise. Like, there are so many anime that are literally like, after being banished from the Heroes Party, like where it's in the title. And then they were like, you're too weak for me. You're a jack of all trades. You're useless. And not, like all the other party members are like, jack of all trades, useless. And they didn't said that term until that episode.
Yeah, it was just like episode 3 or 4. They just all of a sudden started saying that term after not saying it for the whole first 3 or 4 episodes.
And we were looking at each other like, should we just like roll the credits now? Like, what are we? I don't know.
Roll the credits constantly. He ends up getting this training exercise with I think it's the largest guild. Like most powerful guild, but not the most powerful party, because the Heroes Party is not a guild on themselves, but they're the strongest party because they've gotten the furthest down in the dungeon. But I think it's the largest guild, which is the Moonlight Silver Rabbits?
Something like that.
Something
with rabbits.
And he ends up being one of the teachers that's helping them, and they have 3 days, and they're trying to get to floor 50. You start to realize the kind of things that this guy can do, even though he pivoted from sword fighter. He pivoted to an enchanter, but because he wasn't an enchanter to start with, he had to invent a whole bunch of workarounds that would allow him to keep up with his Heroes Party as an enchanter. And the last 2 to 3 episodes just been glazing him on how good he is and all the things he's invented. And oh my God, he's so amazing. He's the strongest and the fastest and the bestest, and he can do anything in the world by himself. And we got on a lot of that. That was getting real old real fast in the last couple episodes.
It's nothing special. It's nothing new. I don't feel like you should necessarily go out of your way to watch this. That's good background noise, I guess. Like, I feel like you could just like completely ignore it for a while and still be fine in terms of following the storyline, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
No. The animation is not great. The facial animations, like their mouths will move, but their faces won't move with it. So it's just like a moving mouth with a static face, which looks real weird, especially on the main character. We've gotten some impressive fight scenes in the last couple of episodes, and when it turns into an impressive fight scene, everybody becomes CGI. So We don't want to draw anything. No, everybody's a CGI
Drawing's hard,
model
man.
fighting other CGI. It looks like action figures banging up against each other eventually. If you haven't started watching it, I probably wouldn't recommend it.
No, there's better stuff.
Yeah, there's better stuff out there.
So the last show that we started after our first episode was Medalist, which I believe was the last show to premiere this season at the end of January. It is season 2, something that began a couple years ago, and we both thoroughly enjoyed. The premise is basically there's a young girl named Inori who always wanted to be a skater, but mama kind of got in the way, eventually got the heck over that, and she winds up being trained by someone who is a ice dancer and never really made it far, and everyone kind of like looks down on him, but he doesn't want Inori to have this experience of like never getting to realize her dreams. So he's helping her train to be a gold medalist. Haha, roll credits. In season 1, she more or less gets through like the very lower levels very, very rapidly, much faster than you would normally anticipate someone doing this, partially because of her determination, and I think also a little bit of her age. She's a little more accustomed to her body and how it moves and how it functions than a younger child might be. Just my 2 cents. I don't really say that. I think in this season, we see more of a progression of her beyond that very basic level, and it's basically like immediately into a competition arc.
Yeah.
From the start. And on the one hand, I like that because I think it's more interesting than going through the training and the drama associated with training. But at the same time, they didn't really carry any characters over from season 1, so we just get this new string of random girls, brief backstory, if anything, and then we just kind of watch them skate, and then Inori doesn't really do anything until 4 episodes in, which I feel like is kind of weird.
Yeah, we were getting backstory from all the characters basically right before they had their participation, and you'd get like 1 or 2 per episode. And I felt like, considering the amount of time that they had, they actually did a decent job of getting you to understand the characters, their motivations, and like the things that were making them who they are and why they were competing and all that. I think they've done a decent job of that. They've made them varied enough also, where they each kind of have their own sort of style. It reminds me back of watching like Yuri on Ice, where it's all those characters had their own different style. And we build up to it, and then we finally get, in the last episode that we watched, Inori's first performance of the season, and it was really good. I thought the performance was really good. A lot of the ones from the first season, I felt like they had a lot of inner monologue going on at the same time. This one has it too with the other characters, where they were constantly being like, oh, I have to do this next trick, and if I don't land it, then I will die and bring dishonor to my family. And like they were constantly going on that, and you would jump around the arena, and everybody's having inner monologue of, oh, this is what she's trying to do. Oh my God, I can't believe it. So you never really got a cohesive performance. And in Inori's first performance of the season, I felt like they let it breathe more. We got some of the inner monologue, a limited amount from her, honestly. We got some from the coach. We got some from the other coaches that were at the competition. But we actually got to witness her do a performance that was really nice. It was a really beautiful performance, and you really got to see how she's grown as a character to just do what she did in this episode. And this is my favorite anime that's currently something I'm watching. We've fallen off. We're a little behind on some of them, and then I also haven't started the JJK or Freerun, which I'm sure are going to top the season eventually, but I'm kind of hoping to just watch them all when their full season's out. But as of right now, and as of when the first season aired, it's my favorite one of the season. It does have this issue with CGI models when they're skating. I can see why they do CGI models in this. I feel like it's not necessarily laziness, because they do a lot of tracking shots. So like the camera's moving with them, and I feel like having their position in space track with the camera would be really difficult to hand draw. I feel like in a lot of anime, when they try to move around space and get you to understand where stuff is and track the characters with it, it ends up becoming really messy, and people end up kind of like jumping from frames and you don't know where people are. But In this one, even though I wish they would be hand-drawn, the CGI models this season are better than the ones from last season, and I could kind of understand why they do it.
I think that's the biggest problem that I have with this anime. It's just the CGI models pop out during performances, which you want to look a certain way, and they don't. I think the other thing that can be hard is just kind of getting used to that, like, sports anime, like, the sport that we are depicting is everything. And how, like, it's just like, this is all their people are doing. It's basically all they talk about. And when you are a, lay person, like neither of us skate, like we've been ice skating, but I wouldn't say we are ice skaters by any stretch of the imagination. Like, we just don't understand the rules. And sometimes they don't explain them, and sometimes they literally have like monologues and dialogues between characters just explaining it to people like us that don't understand what the heck is going on or how this works. And I feel like that's necessary for people to understand things, but it feels unnatural and it's a lot at once, and there's really no way to retain everything that they're telling you other than big move, land, you good. Essentially.
I mean, at this point in season 2, you would be able to, if you paid attention and retained all of the information, understand the difference between a Lutz, a Sow Cow, and a Axle. So like a single, double, triple of all of those. I do retain the information that it has to do with what leg you're starting with. There's also the point structures, which I don't know how much they 1-for-1. I would imagine they probably 1-for-1 with actual scoring, because I don't see any reason why not. But like when certain elements are strung together, they get you more points. If they're positioned in different parts of the routines, they get you different points. There's bonuses and things like that. If you retain all of that information that they've told you, you'd probably have a decent understanding of this level of figure skating, which is one step up from beginner. I think she's novice now. Like whatever level she's at, I'm pretty sure she's novice. She started as a beginner, then she went into the novice category, and this was her first novice thing. And it looks like we're building this season towards the All Japans, which are, the things that eventually get you to qualify for things like the Olympics when you're going international. So the All Japan seems like the thing we're going towards at this point. And I think it's really worth watching. Like, you have to get over, like you're saying, with a sports anime, it's so serious. They take it so serious. I mean, at least it's not a children's card game, but they take it very seriously. Everybody's yelling about it. It's their entire life. But honestly, that's realistic. In figure skating, especially for girls of that age, I can't imagine that they have very much free time. They are probably skating all the time. And the coaches are probably, especially for the larger clubs who have many skaters that they're overseeing, I'm sure they're working at it all the time. They can't possibly have that much free time. So I can imagine why they take it so seriously.
But again, it can be a little overwhelming at times. And of course, it's on Disney, which has commercials.
Well, I mean, you can pay for the not commercials. I just don't.
Well, gross. So that's kind of...
Yeah, it's on Hulu/Disney Plus, so you can't watch it on the traditional Hidiv or Crunchyroll. But I'm sure that it is available via VPN on some other countries on Netflix, but I don't know if you can get the English dub. I wasn't able to find it. I can find it on Netflix in Japan, but it's just in Japanese. So just throw the English on there. It exists. Just throw it on there. Why do you not put it on there? But whatever. So, yeah. I highly recommend. If you haven't even started it, haven't even watched the first season, go back, watch the first season, and then watch this season. It's great because then you don't even have the layoff in between. You get a nice progression all the way through. And honestly, going up to the last episode we just saw, it seems like a perfect culmination episode. So, and you recommend?
It's a good show, especially because I feel like sometimes we just need a break from the isekai. Like, this is pretty much the only non-isekai show we're watching right now. We've got one other one. And one historical one, which we are very behind on. Oh my God, I just noticed all we're doing is watching isekai.
I mean, that's most of what's coming out. So, but that was the last one for the ones we weren't able to talk about in episode 1 because we hadn't started them yet. Now we will move on to some returning anime and some ones that we've dropped. So, if we don't mention the anime in this episode, then it's one that we already told you we were going to drop. So you already know we dropped it. As of this episode, the only one that we had continued watching after episode 1 of the podcast and have since dropped after a few weeks was An Adventurer's Daily Grind at age 29. And it pains me too because he's an old guy. He's an old protagonist, and I like to give old guys a chance when it comes to being the hero of anime. But it's just so boring. Nothing was happening, and I don't know. I just didn't like where it was going.
He essentially adopted a new kid, more or less.
A dwarf.
A little dwarf kid, and they became friends with the, little succubus kid. But I think it lost that sort of wholesome aspect of, like, our adventurer being, like, a dad who, was a little begrudging at first, but just, like, those dad vibes to these younger characters who are learning how to be adventurers. Like, it was just them going to dungeons and still struggling at dungeons, and then the girl getting some super magic because she spoke to a turtle and it was water magic, and then the church person being like, you have water magic now. Look at you. You're great.
Yeah, I just wanted the Mandalorian in Isekai world. I just wanted Lone Wolf and Cub, like The Last of Us. I wanted that kind of a thing where it's a guy taking care of a kid and they go on adventures, and it started to bog itself down. Like, it really could have just stayed that and it would have been better. And eventually it's just like, are we excited to watch this? Do we have to watch this? And then we picked up other anime. So it's like, well, we picked up other anime. We're just going to, trim the fat on the ones that we aren't very excited to watch. So that is the only one that we have dropped since telling you that we were going to continue watching it. But we do have ones that we have continued to watch that have been going on for a little while now. Still going strong and still going weird is Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider. We are continuing that over from last season through this season. I think we're on episode 21 total or something at this point because it carried over. There wasn't really a layoff in the middle, so it's kind of further ahead than all of them are. So I think we only have like 3 or 4 episodes left of this anime total, unless it's continuing again. We don't know. I don't think it is. But this one is really fun at times and really tiring at times and really weird at times. I think this just runs the gambit. It's been so weird. Since the last time we talked about this anime, we've had so many strange little self-contained arcs happen. What are your thoughts on Tojima at this point?
I have never liked this show. I am dragging myself through this show because Jeremy likes this show, but it has just gotten weirder and weirder. Like, I feel like it started off weird because it's basically like adults LARPing like early stage Power Rangers, essentially, if you're looking at it from, American culture. It then became that, but also, hey, we're not LARPing anymore. This is legit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Little weird, but nothing too nuts yet. And then just out of nowhere, it starts introducing these new characters who are, like idols and, kind of random people around Tojima in the community. And they're also getting roped into it and they're fangirling. And then like, there's like some vampire type stuff going on. And I'm like, what?
We got like vampires and zombies at this point. The two main bad guys they refer to as Batman and Spider-Man because one's a big bat guy and one's a big spider guy. But it's just funny when they say them in one sentence. It's like Spider-Man and Batman. It's like, that's funny. Those are the guys from comic books. But yeah, there was a whole like 3-episode diversion that we got where we introduced this idol character who eats a lot of ramen now. So she's not like fit enough to be an idol anymore. And she's like having a thing with Spider-Man, and there's a guy who really wants to make ramen for her who is like, I don't
fanboy.
know. Yeah, it was so weird.
And then people are trying to people are getting murdered for reasons, and it's just, I feel like they're just trying to shove too much into it at once instead of kind of sticking with where they were and kind of slowly progressing with insanity. It's kind of like, here's some insanity, have fun. And I'm like, oh, I can't handle this.
Yeah, we had a tournament arc, and it looks like we're about to go into a training arc. And I don't know how long that could possibly last, but judging by the thumbnails, at least 2 episodes. But because we are doing the dub of this one, so we're usually 2 weeks behind regularly. But we get to see those tantalizing thumbnails down there of the subtitled episodes that we're not watching. I just think we wouldn't get as much enjoyment out of this, or at least I wouldn't get as much enjoyment if I was watching in Japanese, because they're so super serious in the English. And I just don't think that would come across as well in the Japanese. But I enjoy the show. It is tiring at times. It's real high energy all the time. It's like that song, the music video with Celine Dion for Deadpool 2, when he's like, listen, this is Deadpool 2, not the Titanic. You're up at 11. I need you down like a 6. And she goes, listen, this voice only goes at an 11. That's what the show is. It's always at an 11. We need to dial it down a little bit because we're always yelling. And if you yell all the time, then nothing means anything. But it looks pretty good a lot of the time. And the animation style is good. They don't switch into CGI models ever, I don't think. They do that rotoscope animation method a lot less often than they used to, but every once in a while it pops up. But that's specifically stylized to this show. So I like that. It's a little innovative, and it's big on I can't remember the term, but when it's the type of anime that has really good like frozen frame sakuga. Yeah, like it's a real big sakuga anime. They'll do the thing and they pose and they do the superhero punch and the superhero landing and the Kamen Rider rider punch. That's what they say all the time. Rider punch, rider kick. Everything's a straight line. And I think it's fun. It's high energy. If you like a kind of show where it's about adults living their dream and taking something stupid way too seriously, you'll really like this show because it's just that all the time and has a really good ending theme, which is carried over all the way through both seasons.
It does have a very, very, very good ending theme. I think the visuals in the opening theme are good, but I don't like the song as much.
The ending theme is really good. So what are your recommendations on this?
I still don't like this show. I just watch it. I'm like, what? Why is this happening? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
But she has continued to watch it
because I'm a kind and faithful partner.
Well, but to other people, understanding your taste versus the taste of other people, do you think people would enjoy this more often than not?
Probably not. I feel like it's a very niche thing. Like, I feel like it's designed to appeal to people who watched the show as a kid, and we are not those people. Technically, we're not. I didn't watch this when I was a kid.
I mean, the vast majority of people that are watching the show did not watch that when they were a kid because they were not alive when the show was airing.
But I feel like that's kind of who it was made for. It was kind of like remember this awesome thing from when we were children? Let's bring it back a little, because I feel like,
I mean, if you watched Power Rangers, you'd get like Super Sentai, all the stuff that they made out of Super Sentai. It's very similar type of show.
Yeah, but it's not quite the same. Like, you don't have that like memory to it specifically, which I think is important but not necessarily necessary, because obviously Jeremy still enjoys the show, but I think it would help. I feel like, I mean, Power Rangers are still a thing, but they weren't really as popular in my opinion as they were when we were children, like in the 90s and like the early aughts.
The 90s is when Power Rangers came out, but Super Sentai had been around for a while prior to that, which was what they took all the Power Ranger stuff from, and then they just put the American stuff into it. It existed in Japan prior to that.
Yeah,
but like Kamen Rider.
But what I'm saying is, because it was kind of isolated to this period before the average anime watcher now, which is usually like 20s and below, like late teens, early 20s. I mean, yes, but predominantly they're in their late teens, like early 20s, maybe mid 20s. Like, they probably didn't watch these things quite the way we did when we were children, and therefore are less likely to connect with this. Like, I feel like if they were to watch it, they would just find it strange.
It is strange. So, I mean, I recommend it because I think it's fun. I think you should watch the first 3 or 4 episodes and you'll know what the show's about. So if you like those first 3 or 4 episodes, you're going to get more of that. And they're just going to dial it up higher and higher and higher as the show goes on. So I think it's worth the 3-episode test. So I would recommend it. Elaine does not recommend it. The next anime that we are going to talk about, that is something we talked about in episode 1 of the podcast and are still watching, is There Was a Cute Girl in the Hero's Party, so I decided to confess to her. I decided to try confessing to her. Whatever. Cute Girl in the Hero's Party. You'll know what it is. And that is one that we're continuing to watch week after week. We are watching it in Japanese, so we do not have to be 2 episodes behind all the time. We are watching them as they come out. It's a isekai, which is basically irrelevant. We know that he's isekai'd, but it doesn't really mean anything. That he's isekai'd and he becomes a general for the Demon King because he's really powerful. He's reincarnated as a demon, and he didn't want to be a bad guy, so he was just turning away this hero's party that kept coming into the castle. Like, he'd beat him up and then let him go and not like kill him or anything. And then he started to fall for the cute girl healer that's in the hero's party. And eventually he trades letting them pass to fight the Demon King, who he knows they can beat because he's significantly stronger than the Demon King and they're decently strong. So he's like, yeah, go past me and go fight the Demon King. If you leave your healer here. And they're like, oh no. Hero doesn't want to. The witch spellcaster does want to, and the other one doesn't talk. So split decision. Healer makes a decision. She's like, I will sacrifice myself and stay here with this filthy demon. And then she finds out all the information about him, that he was, sent here from another world, and he doesn't want to really fight humans or anything. He's not really a bad guy. And he confesses to her that he loves her.
And then they leave. After the Demon King is defeated, the guy rips off his wings and horn, or hides his wings and rips off his horn. I said that backwards.
Yeah, the rules are sometimes if he has a horn, then he turns demon, but then he has to break his horn off or something, and then he turns back human, but then sometimes he has the horn while he's in human form, so I don't know.
So they become friends, and they spend a surprisingly small amount of time together, considering the premise of the show. Like, he's always going off. He becomes an adventurer, and he goes off on adventures and helps people and tries to just do things for the greater goods.
He helps he's the captain of that section of the Demon King's guard. So the other members of that little platoon that he has, they have now taken roles in the human world, and he helps them, and he hangs out with them, and he helps the other members of the hero's party besides the hero himself, because the hero's a jerk. And he is trying to become a human worthy of the cute girl's love, and then he will confess to her again, and she will say, oh, I have fallen for you, Yoki. Yokai?
Yoki.
Yoki. It's an okay show. It's another one that's really let down by its animation, which is really wonky. And like the last episode we were watching, it was just so derpy. They had a fight, and it was a group fight, and they just didn't want to draw fighting. So it was just static image followed by static image followed by I wave my things, and everybody just goes wee up against the walls. It's real. It doesn't look great most of the time. It spins its tires a little bit, but the characters all fine. They're nice characters. I like the cute girl's design. I think she's got a nice design. I don't really like his design.
It's generic.
It's very generic, very protag in an isekai, like very Kirito light kind of design. And I really didn't like his demon design. Like when he went into his like berserker form, I really didn't like that. We didn't get very much from it, which is good. But I liked the half of the episode we got where he had found a really stupid looking outfit that made him feel like a vigilante or like a comic book character, and he was going around pretending to be like the Black Lightning swordsman or whatever, and everybody was making fun of him, and I thought that was the funniest this ever was. But I don't know, it's wholesome enough. Would you recommend people watching it?
It's okay. You don't need to go out of your way to watch it, but it's not like terrible. Like if you put it on, your soul isn't gonna like die inside of you.
The show needs more fan service. It would be more engaging if it had more fan service. I feel like there's not a lot of fan service in this season.
Which is weird.
It is weird. Because I feel like there's certain shows where it's like, well, this is a really loose premise, but like I can tolerate it because it's fine and I'm getting fan service out of it. And I feel like this is the kind of show where that should be the case. But we're not getting any fan service. Dial up to fan service in the second half of the season, please. And I will recommend it as a 3-episode test. If you like the characters in the first 3 episodes, it seems like it's just more of the same. And you might just have to tolerate with some bad animation at times. And if you can, then I think you'll get some enjoyment out of it. It's fine enough. So recommend and
meh.
The last show we are going to talk about in this episode, and the last show that we have continued watching from the beginning of the season, is a Misanthrope teaches a class for Demi-Humans, which is a show that I get enjoyment out of. It's good enough. It has some good character designs, and it's colorful, and the characters are nice enough. The general premise is, we talked about it in episode 1, but the general premise is a teacher who hates humans is hired to teach demi-humans to be human. We start off with the 4 main girls in the class are a werewolf, or like a wolf, a reverse werewolf who's a wolf and then turns human. So it's a reverse werewolf, a mermaid, a stuffed rabbit, and a bird of some sort. I think they called her a lark or something. I don't remember.
I thought it was a snipe, but maybe I'm crazy.
Whatever, snipe, but a type of bird. And they each get their own episode, and sometimes an episode and a half, because it's one of those things that every episode is divided into 2 episodes, kind of like 2 manga chapters or whatever. So everybody gets like an episode and a half to go through their reasons why they want to be human, go through their little story. He helps them. He's earnest. He understands them, or tries to understand them. We learn a little bit more about his past, and and we progress like that. We've now been introduced to 3 other characters that are going to be new girls going forward. So fresh backstories that we can get.
I think that for the most part, this show has avoided being as problematic as I feel like it could have been, because it's like, okay, you want to be human. Why? Do you hate yourselves? Why do you hate yourself? Like, it didn't really go that direction for the most part. I think that the way they phrase things sometimes is a little weird and problematic. There was recently an episode where they were having essentially like a final exam, and one of the lessons one of the characters had to learn is how to be able to lean on people, because they were always someone that like felt the need to do everything themselves and never wanted to ask for help. And that's fine. But the way they phrased it is like they need to learn how to bother people. I'm like,
yeah, to be a bother.
Why would you put it like that? And yes, like I'll admit that sometimes when you ask someone for help, like you do bother the other person, but you shouldn't go into it with that anticipation of bothering somebody else. I think that a fair amount of the time people are ready and willing to help you, especially within the context of a school where it's an expectation that if you are struggling, your teacher will help you if you ask a question.
And your classmates will help you and whatnot. But yeah, I think most of once we got it all revealed to us from at least the 4 main ones, I think their reasons made more sense once we understood that, and it didn't go into that problematic territory like you were like anticipating it might. I was a little let down by his backstory. I definitely had in my head, I had theories of like darker pasts or more revolutionary theories and as to why he hates humans, but we got it. It was serviceable once we learned the actual details behind it, and it made sense, I guess, from the things that they've shown. But it's fine. He's a good enough character. The other teachers are fine characters. There's not much to them. They don't really appear for very long. When they appear, you have the assistant director guy with the bird on his shoulder all the time, who's kind of funny. And I think it's a fun, wholesome show. There's nothing really problematic in it. There's nothing violent or anything. They don't really do any violent stuff.
No.
It's just, learning to accept yourself, accept your shortcomings, and grow from it and really understand what you want and how you can go about achieving that. So I recommend it.
I think it's a decent watch. They have some fun character designs. Animation isn't the greatest, which I think is the biggest problem of the season.
It's better than most of the other ones we've listed, though, which is saying something. I think this one has better animation than maybe everything except for Tojima and Medalist. It's probably up there.
Yeah, but it also isn't doing as much.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like it's just a lot of kids talking and sitting in a classroom and maybe they dance for a little bit and that's about as involved as they get.
Has a fun theme song. Very bouncy. But so yeah, I recommend it. You recommend it?
Yeah, I think it's decent. Not top of the line, but it's decent.
And that brings us through all the anime we are going to talk about in this episode. You may have noticed that we did not touch on Hell's Paradise, which we did talk about in the first episode, but we're not caught up on Hell's Paradise. And I think that we're probably just going to talk about Hell's Paradise on its own once we've watched the whole season. So you'll get an end of season review / recap about Hell's Paradise.
Ooh.
So you can wait for that. So you won't get the experience of like the theorizing and all that throughout the season, but you will get a complete picture on our thoughts on Hell's Paradise. Now, do let us know if you like this content and let us know what you are watching this season. What have you dropped? What did you think was an amazing show from the beginning, the first episode, and then episode 2 and 3 rolled around and you're like, oh, I don't have time for this. It's going to let this vanish off into the depths of Hidiv. But so if you do like this content, please subscribe to the channel. Let us know that you like it by liking the video. Make sure that it's blue. Comment down below those things I just listed. What you're watching, what you intend to watch, what you dropped, and anything else you want to comment.
Best waifu of the season.
Yes, best waifu of the season. And off the top of my head, I would say something clever, but off the top of my head, nothing popped into my head.
You tried.
Yeah, so do all those things and ring that bell so you know what's up. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, guys.